The lighting in my home office is horrible.
Yeah. All right, I'd like to convene the April 2nd, 2020 meeting of the Delaware County Board of Commissioners. Would you please rise and join me in the pledge?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. I'm Jeff Benton, President of the Board. To my right is our Vice President, Gary Merrill. To my left is our fellow Commissioner, Barb Lewis. And Sarah, Sarah DeNova is our clerk today. And with that, we can begin.
Resolution number 20-304, in the matter of approving the electronic record of proceedings from a regular meeting held March 26, 2020.
So move.
Second.
Discussion? Vote.
Vote on motion 20-304. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Hinton?
Aye.
Resolution number 20-305, in the matter of approving purchase orders, then and now certificates and payments of warrants in batch number CMA PR 0401 and memo transfers in batch numbers MTA 0401.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Vote.
Vote on motion 20-305. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Hinton?
Aye.
Resolution number 20-306, in the matter of granting annexation petition from the agent for the petitioner, Michael R. Shade, attorney at law, requesting annexation of 1.062 acres of land in Troy Township to the city of Delaware.
So move.
Second.
Discussion? Vote.
Vote on motion 20-306. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Resolution number 20-307, in the matter of authorizing participation in the local agricultural easement purchase program from STB3 LLC.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
Morning, Scott Stevens, Administrator, Delaware Soil and Water Conservation District. This applicant is a repeat applicant from previous funding rounds and would ask that your approval, and happy to answer any questions that you might have.
This is the 2020 program.
That's correct.
With this one and the next one are
round.
both for the 2020 program.
And as it's the word now from the Office of Farmland Preservation on these funds come from the Clean Ohio bond funds, and we're making the assumption now that those dollars will be there. However, obviously with the current situation, I think the financial story of this remains to be written of the situation we're in. So for now, we need to proceed and meet the application deadlines, and we'll, I guess, hope for the best moving forward.
Yeah, I would be surprised to see some adjustments, particularly the circumstances we're under.
I think it would be prudent to look down the road in that regard. Absolutely, absolutely.
So how are the prior years proceeding in the process?
Doing well. We have a couple closings that will be happening here in the next 3 to 4 months. However, with the face-to-face meetings to get that done, we'll see what our options are for that as well. Yeah. So there's conversations going on now between the title agents, because there's probably 40 of these across the state, and the state needs to determine what we're able to do in that regard. So what our options are. We have a couple locally that will be ready here in 20 to go to close.
Okay.
Which one are those?
Be the Gabriel parcel, be the 2018 applicant, then that was the only applicant in 2018. Then we have a couple of the 2019s that are real close. The escrow agreements and stuff are circulating, so we're in the final stages. Probably be Joe Brack. And there was one of the Sherman parcels, I think, are the closest.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. They had good, easy titles. Good, not a complicated chain of title to get through. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you had said earlier that it seemed like they were getting caught up some.
They are. Yeah. The Sarah Huffman, I think maybe some know.
Yes.
She's the executive director. Been with the office maybe not quite a year yet. They definitely did some rearranging of workload, and I think their legal staff has changed as well, or increased, so they're able to get through those title reviews a lot. Because that was one of the big time lags, was just getting through. They do 90-year look backs on these. I think normal or average real estate's like a 45-year look back, so there's just, you got twice the volume of paper to weave through on the title review side, on the attorney side. So yeah.
Okay. All right, we'll take a vote.
Vote on motion 20-307. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Resolution number 20-308, in the matter of authorizing participation in the Ohio Local Agricultural Easement Purchase Program from Robert J. Sherman, trustee.
So move.
Second.
Discussion.
Same repeat applicant from previous years and a repeat family applicant from previous years. Matter of fact, our first to go to close was at the Sherman
Yes.
farm, and this would be just, it's not exactly adjoining, but it's very close in proximity to the kind of the seed parcels that were initially put in, so.
Do you expect any more in the 2020 cycle?
No, this will be our
This
two
will be it.
applicants for 2020. We had a few families kind
Think
of
about it.
testing the waters, thinking about it, but haven't pulled the trigger on actually applying yet. And it's a huge leap for those families, just from an estate standing plan, platform, or getting through that and just thinking how that's going to play in. And then obviously, land values in this county would be, if you're on the fringe, then it's something to consider. So we'll see. I think we will continue to have an applicant or two. I think that backlog where we've had that 10 or a dozen folks that were interested historically, we're starting to work through those. Assuming the program continues, we'll have an applicant or two each year, but to have 10 or a dozen applicants in a year, I would be surprised at that, so, yeah.
Okay, vote.
Vote on motion 20-308. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thanks, Scott.
Thank you, Scott.
Clean up after myself.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
Good thing.
it's right, it's a good thing. Wash your hands, right? I have, that was an early, it's like you're a toddler again, right? Don't sneeze on people and wash your hands, right? This is not, this is news that we got long ago, at least from my grandparents anyway. Right? That's right.
Thank you,
So,
Scott.
Thanks, Scott.
Resolution number 20-309, in the matter of approving the First Amendment to the Memorandum of Understanding between the Delaware County Board of Commissioners for and on behalf of the Delaware County Jail and Recovery and Prevention Resources of Delaware and Morrow Counties Incorporated for recovery and prevention services.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Vote.
Vote on motion 20-309. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Resolution number 20-310, in the matter of approving the child placement services contract and First Amendment between the Delaware County Board of Commissioners, the Delaware County Department of Job and Family Services, and child placement provider Lifestar Incorporated.
So move.
Second.
Discussion.
Good morning, Commissioners. Bob Anderson with Job and Family Services. Lifestart is a new provider that we would like to contract with. They can actually serve our medically needy children that we're taking into care. They have foster homes that can meet their needs. We actually have 3 children that we had to place there as an emergency with our ICCA, which kind of spells out the terms, and this is the general contract that will be backdated to those times moving forward.
Good. Do you have a budget figure in this resolution?
Their per diem is 55 for a traditional and 135 for the medically necessary. We are not putting total dollar amounts on the contract. Moving forward, when I first started, we were having issues with appropriations. So this is one that, as we place children there, then we increase the purchase order to cover the cost.
Okay. All right, vote, please. Oh, we
Vote
missing
on motion
something?
20-310. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
Bob.
you, Bob. Thank you for the information today,
Yeah.
too,
You're welcome.
Exactly.
on the unemployment claims.
I didn't know if you were receiving phone calls with unemployment claims and things, but we are seeing a very large number of calls coming in.
Oh, sure. We've heard comments, complaints that the state's website is overloaded.
Yes.
and having long delays and inaccessibility, but they're working to fix it. And
Yes.
everything will be backdated, so everybody will get their due amounts when they were supposed to get it.
Correct. Yeah, and it sounds like they've done a really nice job. They've added servers.
Right.
They've expanded their call center hours, so they are doing everything they can to assist them.
Sure,
Yep.
sure.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
Resolution number 20-311, in the matter of approving an amended and restated administrative agreement among the Concord Sciota Community Authority, the County of Delaware County, Ohio, Argus Growth Consultants as administrator, and the Huntington National Bank as escrow agent.
So moved. Second.
Discussion, I forgot to introduce our county administrator earlier, so I apologize for that, Mr. Fromer.
Good morning, Commissioners. Wanted to let you know I'm donning my Ohio Northern gear today because our governor was wearing his Ohio Northern tie yesterday.
Is he an Ohio
at his
Northern
press conference.
alum?
Yeah, he's an alumni.
I
of-
didn't, okay.
Yeah, he was several years before I attended there. But the resolution that you have in front of you today is a clarification to the subdividers agreement on payment of the waterfall tier of how taxes are collected and how they're paid. The community authority has some accrued expenses for operation. The county provided some upfront for the same mechanism, and then this just kind of clarifies. So moving forward, we will be receiving our 2%, or 2
Two
mil
mils.
portion to pay for the sewer infrastructure.
All right, no further comments, we'll vote.
Vote on motion 20-311. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Resolution number 20-312, in the matter of approving supplemental appropriation for the auditor's office.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
This appropriation is to allow for collection fees for the different TIFs that are being collected with the property taxes. The fees are posted to the general fund, the real estate assessment fund, and the prosecutor delinquent tax fund, and the treasurer delinquent tax fund. So,
Okay, vote.
Vote on motion 20-312. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye. Is this where we're going to do the other business items?
That sounds good.
Good.
The first one we'll do will be the Davis number 240, resolution number 20-313, the matter of setting a new date, time, and place for viewing and public hearing for consideration of the Davis number 240 drainage improvement petition filed by Brett Davis and others.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, just want to point out that this was originally scheduled, the viewing was scheduled for April 22nd, 23rd, 27th, okay. And obviously, we need to delay that since things are so uncertain at this point. But, so anyway, these are the dates we're postponing or pushing those viewing and hearing to. Okay, just for clarification, we'll take a vote.
Vote on motion 20-313. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Resolution number 20-314, in the matter of extending the temporary COVID-19 emergency operations plan.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
we're recommending extending the operations plan because of its expiration.
For 2 weeks, I think, is that what we're doing, Mike?
That, I know we bounced some dates around, but yes, that is correct.
Oh, no, it's for the duration of the stay-at-home order. So we're not actually setting a date.
Sorry, yeah, it is matching the stay-at-home
Stay away.
order.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, vote.
Vote on motion 20-314. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Resolution number 20-315, in the matter of canceling the Commissioners' session scheduled for Monday, April 13th, 2020, and Monday, April 20th, 2020.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Continuing on with our once-a-week meeting schedule. We're going to be canceling the next couple Mondays after this following Monday. So, vote.
Vote on motion 20-315. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Resolution number 20-316, in the matter of scheduling a Commissioners' session for Thursday, April 9th, 2020, at 9:30 a.m.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. This is reinstating a previously canceled meeting, so we can have our once-a-week meetings on Thursdays. So, take a vote.
Vote on motion 20-316. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
And that's all we have for other business.
Okay. Administrator reports.
Yes, good morning, Commissioners. Mike Fromer, County Administrator. At last meeting, you had requested that we put together and prepare and recommend some preliminary budget and operating guidelines as we navigate these uncertain times with the economy. I think that we probably discussed last week, a majority of our revenue comes from sales tax, and sales tax is directly impacted by the economy. And the other challenging thing is our sales tax receipts are usually 2 to 2.5 months after they're collected. So we would probably not get our first normally our first financial information until mid-June. I know there's been a lot of requests to get preliminary information, and it wouldn't surprise me if we were, going to be able to get some preliminary information maybe a month earlier. But still, I think that, once again, we're kind of operating now without knowing the financial impact to our revenues, and I think it's prudent that we take some preliminary guidelines to start to control that because of the unknown severity. And we provided you a memo on March 30th with those guidelines that would be effective April 2nd and be in place till June 30th, with obviously the opportunity to extend those if needed, depending on, because the severity of this and the duration are unknown at this time, so. Would you like me to read the ones, or, the guidelines that we're recommending, or?
Yeah, I think these are important steps, and I think it'd be a good idea. You don't have to read all the text of the discussion, but I think if you could highlight the individual action items that we're doing.
Yeah, I think, in general, we're focusing on controlling non-essential operating expenses and putting on hold non-critical capital improvements, while recognizing that our first responders and emergency services are potentially going to be expending monies that they didn't anticipate, given they're dealing with this. But the interim financial guidelines and operating guidelines would be freeze the hiring of all non-essential personnel, freezing out-of-state travel and non-mandatory training, delay purchase of non-essential items in our purchase services and materials and supplies categories, delay implementation of new programs that will result, many of our departments have great plans and elected official offices that they plan for 2020. We just ask that they wait on and now's not a good time to implement new programs anyway, to wait on that. And then delaying non-essential capital expenditures that are in our 401 and 417 funds as well. A couple of examples, we were planning on replacing the roof in this building. That's not something that needs to be done immediately, and we can put that on hold. So those were kind of the guidelines that we feel are necessary as we navigate these uncharted waters financially.
You say as an example in the capital expenditures, you don't mean that's an all-inclusive list, that's just to illustrate.
Illustrating, for example, non-essential capital improvements that, I would suggest everything on those two lists that people take a look at them and ask themselves, is this essential to move forward at this time? If it's not essential, then we need to delay it and see how things turn out and that we look at. And the other recommendation is once we get the financial information from the sales tax, probably in mid-June, we need to do an updated financial analysis and work with the county auditor's office on what that looks like and maybe have you guys approve something officially how we would operate at the end of the year. So towards the end of the year.
Right. Yeah, and again, it's with the sales tax numbers being so uncertain at this point. We know it's going to be a big decline, but we don't know how much. It's really hard to nail down more specific numbers. But I think philosophically this makes all sense in the world. Let's keep the essential functions going. They're critical.
Yeah.
EMS, 911, the sheriff's office, so on. I mean, there's a number of very essential, very important functions that have to continue, especially in a situation like this. So I think we're trying to draw the distinction between those and things that can be put off. So I think this very accurately portrays that. So I want to thank you for putting this together. We don't need an action on this, do we?
I have a comment.
go right
I just
ahead.
want to, Mike, the work you put into this and the time you put in this and those behind you that worked on this as well, thank you very much. This is an important step. It's an important step we take now that makes the pain later less. And when when I ran for office, the question I get asked frequently was, what do commissioners do? And you give a list of those things, but one of them that I illustrated was being fiscally, we're responsible for the fiscal health of the county. And the steps that we're taking now with Mike's leadership is setting the stage to make that a little easier down the road than if we wait till we get those numbers. So I applaud you for that. I appreciate that you've taken the lead on that, and that leadership will help, and I believe the other elected officials that I've spoken to understand that, and they will be equally supportive, and it's going to require the support of all the electeds to make this effective and make it work. And this is nothing that we wanted. It's nothing that we bought into. That's not the right words to use, but it is where we are. And I think being good stewards is going to make this a much easier thing to manage and get through than, hopefully the virus issue is going to be behind us next few weeks. And hopefully the numbers are going to be temporary, but I do think it's going to take a while to get us back up. And not only are we going to have to deal with the issues along this line, I think I would suggest that not today, but in the near future, we talk about what we can do as commissioners to try to get things restarted. Encouraging people to shop locally, shop at the stores rather than on Amazon. Amazon's benefiting now, but getting people back in and helping the local merchants is going to be imperative. And I think we can play a role in that. And I think that's a conversation, not today. I think today the bad news of we got to make cuts, but that's something that needs to follow fairly quickly. So we have something in place to the degree that we have ability to help make that a little easier to get through. And maybe next Thursday or shortly thereafter we can have that conversation. One issue coming up that I think we probably should defer is the community enhancements. I don't think we're in a position at this point to commit any dollars to that. I would recommend that we need to know where we stand on the virus issue, when that's going to be behind us. We need to know the revenue impact and how that's going to impact us. I would recommend we delay that meeting with those entities until August, until we have a better feel for where we are. Because I don't think, I could not in good conscience in any way support at this point in time.
Well, I don't think we should make an arbitrary date like that, because we are going to have more information shortly. I would not support deferring it to August. These are, if you, and I haven't seen yet what the requests were yet, but I would certainly want to take a look at them and then decide, and we can come up with another date. I mean, that's...
I don't think it's appropriate to have these presentations until we have a little clearer. I mentioned August. I'm not tied to August.
Yeah.
But I do believe we need to wait till we have more clarity. And that has to do with the virus, and it has to do with the revenue impact.
Yeah, I did a preliminary scan of the requests that have been submitted, and I think some of them fall in line with what we talked about putting on hold ourselves, non-capital, essential non-capital. There were a couple that were in response to the coronavirus. I was a little surprised that some of the organizations had already, outlined some expenses. So I definitely think taking a look at it and, proceeding slower with it makes sense, and looking at what the requests were.
Right. Yeah, I think proceeding, we can take a look at it and then decide what to do. We don't have to do it right now. And of course, we're not sticking with the original timetable because we were asking people to come in April. And whether we would even have people come in or just take a look at what we're presented and get some clarification. But one point I would make on that, though, is that I would very much favor, because these groups, and I will name one because I know that they did submit a request, Family Promise. And that request is a very small one, but it would really help them, and they are really hurting at this time. So we can't leave people hanging indefinitely on this. So, I mean, I want to take a look at them and then decide when we would act.
That's kind of where I am. I'd like to go ahead and have the presentations, but have the proposals made, and we can look at them. We don't have to decide until we want to decide. So kind of
Yeah.
timing. We can decide whenever, and I think we ought to focus, as they, I think will, and we've seen a couple, they'll focus on what is important right now in this pandemic. So I would support going ahead with getting the proposals. We may want to cancel the in-person presentations, but I'd like to take
And
a look at
I would support that, too.
we can, evaluate them.
Yeah, I'd like to
in light
look
of the
at
current
them.
environment. One other comment I just wanted to make was, consistent with the guidelines that we're talking about, the operating guidelines, I've talked to, I think, most, if not all, the electeds and the department heads, and they're all kind of instinctively doing what we're proposing anyway. I think they understand, and they want to support, fiscal responsibility in times of, in stressed times. So I don't think there's any surprises here. Most of the electeds that I talked to even talked about doing these sorts of things anyway. So again, I want to applaud them that they reacted positively and proactively in doing the fiscally conservative things that need to be done.
Us setting the lead today with this conversation, I think reassures them and our taxpayers and our county residents that we do take this seriously, and we are trying to set the stage to get the best outcome possible.
Right.
But again, it was very reassuring that our electeds and department heads were doing most of this stuff anyway on their own. So
Yeah, that's so true, too, with the electeds, that they are, I mean, they just already were thinking about, okay, what's essential, what's non-essential.
Right.
And, no, it was very gratifying talking with them, too.
Okay, so anything else, Mike? That's it? All right. Commissioner Merrill, other topics?
Kind of on this topic, we're all listening to a lot of conference calls. I listened to 2 yesterday, and I know you listened to 2, and I think there are 2 different ones than I listened to. The CCO board and MORPC, did you sit in on that one?
Yes.
The policy one? I thought I heard you maybe introduced after I was. There's some redundancy as you go through those because we're obviously talking about much the same topic, but there are costs that we don't identify. The CCO, the MORPC had Congressman Stivers speaking, and made some really good points. I thought he did a really good job. And then the CCO, one of the questions that rose was transport fees in EMS are way down in a lot of these counties, and they're worried about how they're going to make that up. So I got off the phone, made a quick call to our EMS director, and we're down about 20%. So there's a lot of things that we're affected by that aren't obvious to us.
Wouldn't think.
And so we're going to have a lot of challenges that we aren't anticipating just because they just haven't occurred before. So, but it was both meetings were very helpful, both meetings were important, and I'm sure you find the same thing in the meetings you're attending, and Commissioner Lewis as well. So I don't think I have anything else at this time that requires any special note other than that every county in the state is feeling the effect of this, and there's a lot of fear about what we're going to look like in the next 30, 45 days. It's an unfortunate time. That's all I have.
Commissioner Lewis.
Yes, I called all of our EMS stations yesterday and spoke to just some great people there. I was very impressed with everyone I spoke with. They are really on top of things. They're doing well, and I wanted to relay our thanks to them for being where they are right now, keeping us safe and healthy. And I asked them about supplies, and they were doing pretty well. They were doing well as far as supplies go, too. Some said that they expected, I guess there's a shipment coming in on Friday, and our EMA is working this and kind of in charge of this in dispersing these supplies. But it was just wonderful to talk with them, and I thanked them for everything and told them how much we appreciated what they were doing, and they are really doing well too, and their spirits were good, and they're working. They did say it was across the board that the runs were down, and one of the gentlemen I spoke with said that he was one of those who had to be quarantined because there was a call that came in. This is a few weeks ago, and they thought it was a cardiac arrest, but it looked as though it might be the coronavirus, and so they all were quarantined. The EMS group was quarantined, but then the good news was that the man who had the test, it turned out negative. So the gentleman I talked with, our EMS guy, said, you know, I'm back at work. This is great. So that was good news. But it was a great time just spent talking with him and learning a little bit more. I must say that they really praised our administrator and for all that he's done in reaching out to them over the last few months. They mentioned, you know, how getting to know Mike has and made them more connected too with us and our administration. So thank you, Mike, for being very proactive on that. I believe you were even giving some lunches, distributing lunches to, to some of the stations. So anyway, that's all I have.
Yeah, they do have a great attitude, and Director Fischel's been a real leader through this whole thing, and it's not an accident. They're the #1 EMS organization in the state, so we're very proud and appreciative of everything they do. Like everybody, I've been on lots of calls. Maybe I highlight a couple of them. The General Health District had their weekly call yesterday. Delaware County now has 47 cases. It's up, obviously it's growing, but it's not growing exponentially. So I think all the actions we're taking, the cautions and that we're doing are hopefully slowing that growth. But they're prepared, they're communicating very well. Again, I would just encourage everyone to avail themselves of the health district's information on their website or by phone. However, they've got great information and great data to share. CCAO, MORPC, got executive committee this afternoon. We're doing that remotely, of course, which is interesting. Most of these calls now are all remote. SEBCO, we had a meeting last Friday remotely, and that's they're prepared and doing things to help counties through this difficult time in terms of premium delays and so on that are available. Coverages continue to be good. Governor's having a daily press conference, generally at 4 o'clock. I've been listening to most of those, and it's very interesting.
Yes, they really are.
They're out in front, and they're very on top of it. Dr. Acton is an excellent leader in terms of providing guidance, data, solutions. And the governor's, been courageous in some of his things that he's done, but so far we've avoided the situation like in New York City, where they've got a real crisis that has really been a problem. There are a number of things. We could talk for hours on this. There's a number of things being done at the federal level, at the state level, at the local level, in terms of legislation and actions that we won't go into the details here, but I would encourage everyone to avail themselves, particularly the businesses, of the tools and programs and loan programs, et cetera, that are available to help them through this, whether it's employees, the businesses themselves. There's a lot being done to address this, and I want to compliment all those levels of government that are really trying to get us through this thing. So, I would recommend everyone continue to access the county's website. County's website has excellent, up-to-date information for all the departments and offices. So if you have a question, please go to our website and access the department or office you need to find information, get links or direct information there. And that's about it. We do have need for executive session. If you could add the one on safety, if there are security arrangements.
Resolution number 20-317, in the matter of adjourning into executive session for consideration of employment compensation of a public employee or public official for collective bargaining, for security arrangements and emergency protocols, and for confidential information related to economic development.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Vote.
Vote on motion 20-317. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
All right. Thank you, Sarah. We're in executive session.
We're being across the hall. Resolution number 20-318, in the matter of adjourning out of executive session. So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Vote.
Vote on motion 20-318. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Okay, we're out of executive session, and we, with no further business, we will adjourn.